Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome here and welcoming everyone. Thank you very much. Good morning, and very good that you all can able to join this morning's Sunday mornings, our regular calm abiding meditation, followed by a Dharma talk. So we're going to take a couple moments to secure our space and your attention, your good intention, free of all other outer activities as well as mental discursive thoughts, but focus what we have come here to do. That is to one pointedly sit in stillness in order to relish the good there is in the peace and tranquil and calm mind, not only when we do this meditation, but thereafter. So with this in mind, we will do the refuge prayer, that is affirmation of the truth and the blessings, how true the teachings are, by guidance of which, as we follow, we are much safer in our thoughts. People are also safer in next to our mind, or as our companions, or as our whatever part they take. With someone who's calm, they are not in danger of being abused or harmed or reacted or negatively, physically or verbally, because the one who has calm in mind perceives and conceives all in a very much as they are safe. They're safe with you. So Dharma is to secure our mind in a good space through meditation. So that's why this prayer is to acknowledge that, and our commitment to practice kindness to each other, most importantly, and gentleness towards each other, particularly when the others are not gentle or not necessarily in a good space. We have to be very much try to support them by not overreacting and being kind to them. So with this in mind, we'll do the prayer. Thank you. Join your hands at the heart and put all your feelings and heart well wish to realize these sentiments. Oyenda Buddha Dhamma Sangha Ajere Vyuje Lajame Bhaivache Ajehedala Ajare Buddha Ujuebi Henda Buddha Dhamma Sangha Ajere Vyuje Lajame Bhaivache Ajehedala Ajare Buddha Ujuebi Henda Buddha Dhamma Sangha Ajere Vyuje Lajame Bhaivache Ajehedala Ajare Buddha Ujuebi. Happiness and the cause of happiness, may they be free from suffering, and the cause of suffering, めでねわ Vaisakh happiness. Dana suffering. Medadwa equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. May all beings have happiness and a cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and a cause of suffering. May they know a path from happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion of those near and far. May all beings have happiness and a cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and a cause of suffering. May they know a path from happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion of those near and far. So now we'll do the meditation in 3 parts. I will lead you a few minutes before each and then leave you to it. Bring your full attention in the conscious sitting correct posture. Observe the stillness outside you and let the body also remain very still while positioning the posture correctly, knowing the significance of the posture, checking and correcting as you scan up and down, and then feeling the qualities that you slowly improve by doing it. Make your eyes become very soft, peaceful gaze that is not blinking your eyes, nor widely open. Chin slightly tucked in, your back is straight, your jaw, your whole face is very relaxed. Shoulders are balanced, and have a sense the single hair from your crown is pulling you towards the ceiling. Each time you reach the end of upward scanning the posture, then at the beginning, before you scan downward from the crown. So have a carefully paced way to position the posture, check, know, do, and feel. One pointedly, becoming fully aware of your attention to the posture and those around you, and just gently bring the mind back if it's wandering off, or the posture is too rigid, make it a little bit soft. If it's too slack, exert slight improved posture. Do this well-paced scanning for 6 to 8 rounds without any compromise. After that, always take a short, conscious mini break. In this way, try to achieve a stable, grounded confidence. That's the earth element. balanced, harmonious. That is water element. Aware and very conscious. Synchronized whole posture represent fire element. And a good understanding and insightful way why one is meditating, the oxygenating air element. Even slight pain or discomfort in the body, if there are any, slowly, this will help me to develop my resilience and calmness and restlessness. With this in mind, make a very active sit without dozing off or becoming dull or sinking somewhere. Stay very conscious of the posture and the scanning, the timing, and the mini breaks. while maintaining your one-pointed, correct sitting posture. Now we focus on the consciously following inhalation. When you inhale mindfully, doing the inhalation knowingly, something positive with the oxygen, one actually feels inspired with each inhalation. As one follows the breath going in the lung, permeates and spread and irrigate your whole body as you circulate, rejuvenates your whole body. Stay with the permeation phase of the breath, and then as you exhale, consciously breathe out not just carbon but sadness, pain, hurts, difficulties, worries, one out breath. Witness it leaving with the carbon. With this, you stay with the exhalation. In this way, do each round and do forward counting. At the end of each exhalation, you do the counting one and do the next one even more carefully. The inhalation, the way you do, know, see the feel, the inhaled phase of the breath. Then as you permeate the breath, you do the permeation. You see the spreading far into the tissues and fibers and the muscles and joints, healing the body with the red blood cells flooding the whole nervous system. Feel rejuvenated, and then as you exhale, do conscious breathing out. Know what to let go. See the carbon and dark energy leaving. Feel relieved and freed. Then count that as 2. The more you count, each counted rounds has a greater clarity and a resolution. And try to count uninterruptedly as high a number. Without any sense of dullness and forgetfulness or distraction. Calmly holding the stillness of the correct posture, we still continue to do the rounds of breath, but this time we will do the reverse counting of super qualified round breath. Let us carefully, mindfully inhale, see what you're inhaling, know and feel with greater clarity and resolution, making yourself fully alive each time you inhale. Likewise, as you permeate, you follow the breath and the oxygen in the lungs spreading through the whole nervous system, very penetratingly flooding your whole nervous system. Feel healed and rejuvenated. And then as you exhale, breathe out all the tension and the pain and difficulties in mind and life and worries in one out breath. And you count that from the highest number, say from 50, do that as 50th round, and next one, 49th. Use the end of exhalation at the counting point without losing the count or forgetting how to do. Mindfully do super qualified reverse counting, calmly fixing your attention without drifting away or becoming dull, but mindfully doing each round with greater clarity than one before, and plus learning to count reverse to boost your attentiveness of calm, abiding meditation. Imagine sitting like that 6 years. Gives you a good perspective, I think. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Thank you, everybody. If you find it difficult to sit on the floor, please sit on the chair. Now the meditation is over. Of course, these few sessions I'm giving talk on the life of the Buddha, because this month marks the Vaisakh, which is the month in which at least three of the major, as well as many other aspects of Buddha's life unfolded, including his birth, in his enlightenment, and his passing away. All happened on the full moon in May. So this year it falls on the 26th of May. So the actual the Vaisakh month, Sagadava, started about 6 days ago. So it's very auspicious and very important, I think, for people who are interested in Buddhism. Who is Buddha, and what is the life of the Buddha, and how does his lived through life actually represent the very teachings that he taught? Because there's a importance of however long the history of Buddha is, that it is as very fresh in the mind of those who know, because they really know the Buddha very well. So it's important people to know the Buddha in this time, because quite a lot of people learn more about some Tibetan lineage masters, and some they know more about Padmasambhava than about Buddha. And a lot of the Padmasambhava stories are very mysterious ones, you know. The life of Buddha was not mysterious one. Most of them are fairly, you know, like sitting on your bum 6 years. And conquer all the evils. So last week we finished talking about the first few episodes of Buddha's life. That is how he chose time and a mother, and a country and family, and a race in which he will be born, and then how he actually was born. And so we mainly covered that part. Today we're going to continue from that. Of course, he was given the name Siddhartha as a childhood name, among other names. There were quite a number of names, but most well-known name of his childhood and before he became enlightened was Siddhartha. Siddhartha meaning the king Shuddhodana, his father's kingdom, accomplished many things that was unimaginable had not been the birth of the enlightened child. And so he was given the name accomplishment. Siddhartha meaning one who has accomplished many of the wishes and dreams. And for King Shuddhodana and Mayadevi to have a child and who's going to be either as a universal monarch, as enlightened one. Of course, father had every intention to make him a universal monarch. So today we're going to talk a little bit about his youth and his study and his marriage and then his decision to leave the palace after he had these 4 very amazing sights, and then how he practiced asceticism. These are very important part of what made Buddha Buddha. What is the making of the Buddha is how he changed his course of life's choice. Even though his youth and study and all of those was very much to the liking and wishes of his father and his family, because they brought him up to study firstly the languages through very famous of the day, a very learned philologist and linguist called Kaushika Vishwamitra. He studied all the 16 great languages of ancient India, and also he learned from Shahadeva, the great archery. Taught him archery. In those days, they didn't have soccer or Aussie rules. and from his uncle, he learned to handle elephants. so handling elephants and all of those was very important, and Buddha, as a Siddhartha, learned very fast to the surprise of all his teachers. Whatever they taught, he learned so fast. They can't teach him nothing. Every time they engage in it, he just knew more than what the teachers taught. Be that in archery or in languages or swimming or I don't know what kind of swimming pool they had those days, But actually river, there's a Bhagirathi is the river that was very, very big in the monsoon season, very difficult to cross. They said that nobody would dare cross a rim swimming in that river. All his opponents showed all of their swimming skills, and then Siddhartha said, "Come and let's compete here in this Bhagirathi river." And everybody tried to swim, and everybody got driven away by the current down that stream. They did all cross, but miles down. Very, very few could cross straight. But Siddhartha, just as a world number 1 swimmer of Bhagirathi, he just crossed straight in no time on the straight. So everybody was very much surprised. He excelled in all kinds of sportsmanship and everything. And when having heard about this very famous the son being born in the Shakya kingdom, because everybody heard about this special son being born in the Shakya kingdom, and one of the kingdom called Litsavi is the kingdom where Vaishali is situated. There the people, they had a very special elephant, and they thought, he's going to be universal monarch, so he will need a special elephant. And no ordinary elephant, a precious elephant, You have to have a special elephant with 6 tasks if possible. 2 will be great, but 6 will be amazing. So just as his mother, when he dreamt of elephant entering into her, white elephant entering into her with 6 tasks among the 4 very special dreams, and so this kingdom, Litsavi people, thought they should offer the amazing elephant. Everybody thought that the elephant they had was very special. So they came to offer the elephant to the palace when Siddhartha was just a young man. He was maybe 13 or something like that. And they came to offer. The elephant was so well decorated. Indians even today, these days, amazing thing. They adorn the elephant from the crown, for the back and the tail and everywhere. It's just including the hoofs and everything. They have amazing way to decorating the elephant, and they specially made it that is fit to be offered to a universal monarch, Chakravartin, who should have 7 special articles like queen and minister and horse and elephant and so on. So they thought they were going to offer this elephant to make part of his completeness of his being a universal monarch. As they came to offer the elephant to the palace, Hangsawati, name of the palace of this in Shakya kingdom in Kapilavastu, Hangsawati. Hangsawati means full of swans. Many swans come to enjoy the lake around, and the palace was really beautifully designed. And always was that more swans than anybody, because most ordinary people aren't allowed to come in royal compounds, like Buckingham Palace, Not because of social distancing or anything like that. It's just because they are royals and you're nobody. But you can't stop the swans flying into the palace grounds because they are swans. They don't know about human rules. They are bird rules. Bird always flocked the palace and enjoyed the lake, and that's why they gave this palace was completely always covered in so many swans. So they call Hansawati, the palace of the swans. Anyway, so when they brought this elephant into this palace, and then Buddha had his uncle's son, Devadatta, the cousin, very, very jealous. Now he's starting to be jealous. He said, why is bring this beautiful elephant in? He said, they're going to offer to the Prince Siddhartha. And then Devadatta, out of jealousy, he punched the elephant. He killed the elephant. He's very jealous, He thought his cousin is going to be king, universal monarch. He doesn't want that to happen. And then Buddha's half-brother, Nanda was really upset by the killing of the elephant by his cousin, particularly out of jealousy. And then Nanda thought, to show his athleticism, he lifted up and threw it away about 7 paces where the dead body was, out of the way. And then, so there was this cousin competing. And then the Siddhartha had noticed something was going on. Because killing of an elephant is a big news, I'm sure a couple of us in a daily would have got the headlines. Oh, elephant punched by Devadatta, killed. And then Nanda comes and throw the body away a little bit. But then Siddhartha comes and he discovered, and this was just because they were having a lot of sportsmen competition between the cousins. So always Devadatta is never happy that he's a loser. So he wanted to show that he could really punch an elephant and kill him. So it's quite strong, isn't it? That nobody can do that. But they were all training in sportsmanship. He did that, and Nanda could throw it away 7 paces away. That's quite a bit effort anyway. So then the Siddhartha comes, and of course he knew what his 2 cousins are doing, half brother, and he picked up the elephant tail and lifted it like this and threw away 7 fences away. 7 fences away, of course, far away from the Hansawati palace. And then it fell outside the 7 fences and created a huge ditch. Huge ditch following the big elephant. And then it earned the name Elephant Ditch. Hastigraha. Actually, that's a place. If you go to Kapilavastu now, they show you where the elephant landed. These days, and they built a monument later on, of course. So anyway, so there was this tension happening between him and his cousin Devadatta, starting like that. Anyway, so then they were having archery contest, archery contest, and everybody was good. Relatively good. They never missed the target. They're always really good. But Siddhartha said, look, I'm not hitting just to shoot the target. And I wanted to shoot 7 targets in the same time. So they put 7 trees in a row, all with the big gaps, and then big iron sort of plates put on that. So the target was the iron plate. You got to hit the iron plus make hole to the tree, and then another 6 of those. And of course, when the others hit, they make through the first tree, but not beyond that. They all hit the target, but not beyond that. When Siddhartha shoot the arrow through the 7 trees with all the 7 iron plates, all of them got penetrated by one arrow shot, and not only that, the arrow landed beyond the 7 trees and then hit onto the bare ground, and there came a spring. A very spring came, just water gushing. And then people thought, wow, that's not ordinary sportsmanship. And then, of course, that water became very important. Ever since it became an ongoing water spring, yeah? So a spring to rush forth, and everybody just drank the water as they regard as holy, very special, So anyway, so there was this youthful sportsmanship happening, mostly because they would still compete with other youth, but not every youth, Most of the youth, because he had so many uncles and aunties, 4 aunties and 4 uncles, they all have children. They're pretty much a big sports club. and the rivals, when it comes to swimming and archery, everybody was a rival, not them and you, but everybody was a rival. So there was a little bit of tension going on because he was the prince, he is the chosen one who's been the king. Everybody else is just a cousin, And his half brother Nanda, we should know this. All these people's name is very important. And the Nanda is his stepmother's son. Yeah, Nanda is his stepmother or auntie Prajapati Gautami was married to the father again because his mother died. Yeah, his mother died young, so Prajapati Gautami married to his father, and then she bore the son Nanda. So Nanda is his half-brother. Nanda is a very important figure in Buddhist history. You will meet him later on about Nanda's kind of a personal kind of story. We will come to that later on. Anyway, Devadatta having lost a lot of competition and archery, he still wanted to show that he is a good marksman, And then one day he just shot an arrow, Nanda, this is Devadatta, shot an arrow to one of those flying swan, and in the sky, And then he had a direct hit on the swan, and swan fell. Swan fell into the garden of Siddhartha, of course. And Siddhartha went straight away and took it and extracted the arrow, bound up the wound, and then he was holding it. And moments later, Devadatta comes in to claim the bird, says, "It's mine, give it to me, I shot it down." And Siddhartha was very sure, no, this is one who saves the life, owns this bird, not one who's trying to destroy it. So the two cousins had a good conflict, and this has to be the first and last time that Siddhartha had to go to a court. So the Siddhartha palace has a court too, because then nobody want to take sides, because they're all afraid of Devadatta. He's really, really like a thuggish. He want to do any damage if he doesn't get his way, and also they don't want to disrespect. Everybody thought, that's whoever is saving the bird. It should really, particularly the injured bird fell in your garden, not his garden. He says, it fell in my garden, not in your garden. I'm the one who saved the bird. And then they argue, and finally the judge said, everybody said, it's the one who saves life should look after the life, should own the life, not one who destroys it. So young Siddhartha was showing all this right from the very beginning, that he's all about saving life, not destroying life. Whereas his cousin always did the opposite. He was still showing off, showing off he could shoot. He punched the elephant. He killed. He not killed. He just injured the swan. All of this was showing that he was doing the exact violence. He's doing the violent thing, and Siddhartha was trying to save life. So dispute was resolved in the Bodhisattva's favor. So the more these things happen, the more Devadatta become angry and unhappy, unhappy. Anyway, when the Siddhartha was showing really his sportsmanship and youthfulness and so on, then his father really thought, in order to make sure that my son doesn't run away and become a monk, I should make sure that he gets a really beautiful wife and marry him off so that he can really be contained in the palace grounds, in the worldly pleasure, and don't run away in the forest. So father therefore talked to him, look, it's about this 17-year-old, when he was 17, he said, look, I want you to marry, and please let's make the arrangement. And the Siddhartha said, no, I'm not interested. He said, I'm not interested. Just imagine you, 17-year-old father tries to say, look, I'm going to arrange a girl for you, And he said, no. Firstly, not arrange. Secondly, not now. In those days, in India still arranged marriage. Arranged marriage these days even they say even these days arranged marriage work better in Indian community. Relatively speaking. Relatively speaking. Anyway, Siddhartha said, no, I'm not going to marry. I don't want these to do this. I'm too young or something. But father said, no. And when he said, father said, no, why should you not marry? Siddhartha said, there are no women who has all the qualities they should have to be my wife. So he's a bit proudly speaking, And father said, why not? This is big kingdom. Everybody is my subject. I can make sure that no women are not checked on. I make sure that we'll definitely find and select all the suitable candidates. You can't turn this down, You have to be king and marry a princess and so on. And then Siddhartha wrote a list of all the qualifications the girl should have. There were 16 amazing qualities. I don't think these are any of the qualities most women have, I'm not condescending, but it's very, very impossible qualities. Who has no ego, who's like a mother to everybody, who has no jealousy, and so forth, so on. And he looked at the list, and father was saying, "Oh, this will be a bit difficult, but I'm going to make sure we'll find one." Anyways, he sent the ministers and make sure that this someone who's suitable, who's still eligible, all invited. They went and they went. They couldn't find anyone. But they did find a daughter of Dandapani. Shakya Dandapani is a very wealthy family. Their daughter, Yashodhara, had all the qualities. Because she has all the qualities, she wasn't going to say, I have the qualities. That was one of the qualities. One of the qualities is modesty. And then minister came back to the report of the king that we can only find one, and she really is not interested. So then the father was a little disappointed there were only one candidate. But he nevertheless thought, in order to make sure that the Bodhisattva, the Siddhartha, is interested, he wanted to arrange a party of all the beautiful, maidens of the country, and invited all those suitable, beautiful girls, among whom Yashodhara was one of them. She finally didn't turn down the invitation. She also said, "Okay, I'll come." So she also came, and they had a big party. And then ministers and father arranged so that the Prince Siddhartha gave a present to all the girls, to see whether he showed any interest to the girls or not. Anyway, so all the girls came, and they all was really eager to meet the princess. They all know that he's a marriageable bachelor. And they all thought maybe there was something hopeful for each of them, and they all came with great anticipation. And they all came, and they all got the gift, and Siddhartha gave all the gifts. And then he's going to run out of gifts. And then the last one is Yashodhara comes up. Yashodhara, she's the one. She always put herself last. See, this is one of the qualities. She always came last, and then there was no gift left. But then Prince gave his own ring to her, and they could see, they could spot that there was something. Not only she was the only one who had those qualities, she came last, and she was modest, and she was very selfless, and she was really shy, and all the things. And then Prince gave the thing, and they straight away had no doubt about the appropriateness of Yashodhara being the suitable queen to be married. And then Father Dandapani actually didn't want to marry off his daughter to the prince. She said, no, there are many other kings, prince around the world have also asked her hand, so I can't really say yes. And he demanded a big kind of sportsman competition. So if Siddhartha wins all of them, then he can marry his daughter. Otherwise, So anyway, things got a little bit delayed. Just to check whether both are suitable or not, whether they have the patience to wait. Anyway, so in the end, all things went very well, and they got married, and Yashodhara was the chosen wife. And as soon as he was married with Yashodhara, and party of many young maidens were brought together to assist her in the palace in many different capacities. You wouldn't believe in those days having 500 queens is no ordinary thing. There will be one primary queen. The others are just other roles. I don't know whether they chop his fingernails or rub his shoulders, or I don't know what roles they played. But there were so many other maidens brought in the palace. King really want to make sure that his son is totally entertained fully to the pleasure of life, of position, wealth, youth, and whatever, company and activities, so that he doesn't lose your mind to do anything other than being a king, So father wanted to lure him, to keep him trapped. That was his intention, So this was all happening, and Buddha had this. Siddhartha, Prince Siddhartha, always wanted to go somewhere. The father was always worried. Where is going to go? What is going to do? Father's always protective of him. All fathers are like that. I suppose all parents. Where are you going? How long? Who with? So Siddhartha would tell his attendant Chandaka, his same age, and Chandaka is among the Yashodhara and Siddhartha same birthday. And Chandaka is same birthday. So all the people who were meant to be part of his life was all same day, same birthday. Even the horse that Kantaka is also same. Anyway, so he would always call Chandaka and, bring the horse, let's go for outing. And the father would say, where are you going? What are you doing? Well, all these control freak parents. And where are you going for? How long? What for? Is that the right time? Type of thing. Anyway, so when the father was really, really nervous, he wanted to make sure his city is kept neat and clean, and everything was perfect, no sign of death, sickness. All these things were visible, so that the prince, everything looked beautiful, clean. All the flowers, all the dancing people on the road, wherever he went, to make sure that he's never get to see the real life, because he wanted to sort of insulate him so that he doesn't see all the real nature of life, Anyway, so one day, Siddhartha persuaded his father to give him permission to go out. And so he went with Kantaka and Chandaka. And then he went, and finally everywhere people waiting and waving and greeting and saluting, and all looked pretty good. But all of a sudden there appeared a spectacle of a very old man, who was completely covered in wrinkles. He can barely sort of negotiate the road. Even the road was with the walking stick, and he looked very, very old. And Siddhartha couldn't believe someone who's become so old and so weak and so helpless, but yet he want to go somewhere, but he can't barely move to make his way. He says, "What's this?" And then his attendant tells him, "This is called old age. He's been lived too long, and now his bodily stamina, energy, all not there." So he said, "This happens to everyone?" He says, "This happens to everyone." "Yes, this happens to everyone. This happens to even you're going to your wife," he said. He said, "Damn it, take me home. I don't like this." So, not exact word like that, but I'm sure he said, look, take me home, because he was really depressed. He said, "Oh, this world what's the point of me being a king? I'm going to be old like that." Oh. And then he started noticing he was really sad, and and he thought the life's got not a lot of choice, not a lot of hope left, look at that, Then he says, take me another day. Next second day, he said, take me another tour, excursion. And next day, same excursion goes, everything looking very fine and nice. All of a sudden, he meet a young man who is very sick, who is vomiting and throwing, and a man who's very strong, but what's this? This is called sickness. He said, what's this? He perfectly looks young, but it doesn't matter. The illness can come anytime. And so he got to discover the suffering of illness. Yeah, illness, isn't it? You wouldn't believe how life becomes completely, almost like pointless when it's completely overtaken by illness. Like this particular pandemic, we see 4,000 people dying each day in India alone. Just imagine. No, that's just this pandemic, but there are many thousands dying every day from many other diseases. And he said, please take me home. Oh, this is ridiculous. I never know life's going to be like this. He thought his life would be wonderful, So he got and he wouldn't eat and he wouldn't sleep very well and got really, really upset. And then next third day he goes, let's go out, see what's how. And this time, things got really worse. This time he could see this a funeral procession. He met a funeral procession. I forgot. In India, the body looks real body, not wrapped in a shiny box, The body wrapped up in some yellow cloths or whatever. People playing conch or something. Everybody wearing white, and there's a kind of somber look when you look at not with shiny car with two people with wearing bow tie, like walking like this. In the West, we try to insulate it so there's nothing, So in India, the death is real, Even today, they make the dead body, like you can see how they're cremating, the straightaway barbecue, everybody. And when he saw the dead, he said, couldn't believe it. He thought old age was bad enough. He thought the sickness was bad enough. And now it's a death. And this could happen to any age. You don't need to be sick. You don't need to be poor. And he got really, really upset by that. And then when he returned to palace, he could see everybody as skeletons. He wouldn't see the beautiful palace people or girls or his wife as beautiful anymore. They're all skeletons. He could see them. His mind was fast forwarding, These are all inevitably going to be like this. Yet we think we should have them or should, this. And then he was shaking his head. Gosh, so deluded, attached to impermanent things and permanent, what are going to be definitely going to die. We're still going to cling on to them as they're going to live forever. And he was really, really sad and really depressed. And then he was lost, He was hoping whether there's any way out not to get sick, not to die, and not to become old and all of that. And then next day he went for the fourth excursion. And on the fourth excursion, and everything was beautiful, very nice. He had seen all the worst. And then he see a monk, fully shaven, and he's walking on the road, and a very peaceful, very calm, and very special presence. And he says, "What's that?" Chandaka says, "Oh, that's a mendicant. That's a monk who have found the world to be so, cause of suffering and renunciation." So he's realized the desire and the wealth, possessions and relationship, these things are all traps. These things are not cause of spiritual growth, but these are the traps in which most people fall. And so the monks is the one who think of life's purpose and therefore get rid of desire and power and craving and competition and all the things people get involved. And this is a monk who's seeking peace and enlightenment through renunciation. And then Siddhartha thought, he says, "That's what I want to do." That's what he told himself, and that's what take me home. Take me home. So by this time he had already made up his mind, And then one day, while he was thinking of leaving the palace, one day he went to the field and he saw these thousands of people working in the field, all laborers, and all the servants, quite a lot of them are slaves. In those days, slavery is a currency. Slavery was the currency, and they were just doing hard, back-breaking work. Their hand and body was covered in mud and wet and sweat, and yet they have to pull this cart and make the oxen all plow these deep fields, and these big fields have to be. And he said, they have no choice but to do. They were still being driven and chased by others to work and not sit around. And he says, who are these working for? And they say, for your father. He says, what? It's my father is responsible to make all these people work like a slave. He was so disappointed. He said, you're all free to go home. He says, you're all free to go home. Give up your job. You don't have to be slaves. This is ridiculous. So he was the first to actually rebel against slavery. He didn't want that. And particularly he realized his father was the employer, owner of all these slaves. And all their hard work, backbreaking work, is bringing all the nice things they enjoy in palace. And he felt, gosh, every single morsel of food that he eat, he couldn't have taste anymore. He says, look, I'm living on the hard work of the slavery, and yet my father thinks I should become one like him. No way, he said. So you can see the young rebellious prince had every reason to not only feel sad because of sickness and death and old age, but inequality of rich and powerful taking advantage of the poor and those who have not. And he just couldn't bear to be part of that. And he went to protest to his father, look, I'm not going to be king. I had enough. I want to leave. So he firstly sought permission to leave, but father wouldn't give consent at all. Nor would his wife, and nobody would agree to him leaving, But he knew he will have to go. And when the father heard about this, his royal prince's kind of a protest about this life, they really feared, now he's going to leave. This is no good. We got to make sure he doesn't get a chance, doesn't get even an inch where he can escape from, So he asked all his brothers, to guard 4 gates of Kapilavastu. All the Dronodana, Amritodana, Shuddhodana, all of them, their troops were all stationed in the 4 gates so that he cannot leave. They want him to stop from leaving the palace. And 4 gates of Kapilavastu become completely guarded with men with weapons so that prince cannot escape. They all were so protective of him leaving. Nevertheless, the night when it came, Siddhartha woke up in the middle of the night and went to wake up his attendant, which is not common, not very common, The master coming to wake up the servant at that odd hour. He says, come on, wake up. Chandaka says, what for, master? This is an odd hour to get up. You're going to go for another excursion. He says, no. He says, this will be the last time I'll ask you to help me. Now don't refuse. He said, yeah, but this is not the right time to go. Everybody's sleeping, and you're not allowed to go. So, no, you got to bring the horse. You got to bring the horse right now. So Chandaka reluctantly went to get the horse, and the Kantaka, the horse comes, okay? And then, of course, all the palace gates are completely guarded, But all of a sudden, the 4 guardians, these are kings, these are very powerful kings. They all descended in the palace. They all lifted the horse's hoof. And they all flew. So they really flew. The flight was a real flight, not Qantas, but 4-legged horse. Kantaka flight. Kantaka. In the old days, all flight was horse, Even the airplanes are designed after horses, We talk about horsepower, don't we? Yeah, that's right. The horsepower was so good that he didn't have to go through the gate. He just went up through the space and went 12 miles outside a couple of us too and escaped. And nobody knew. Everybody was dead asleep. Dead asleep. Particularly they wouldn't know how he flew. And Shuddhodana, or the father, of course, didn't know anything. But a few days later, they discovered this prince has left. Why? The attendant and horse returning. And of course, but attendant was very aware that he will be reprimanded if he returned home without the prince and bring the horse. And attendant first took the Buddha, Siddhartha, to somewhere very far, and he said, "Look, I cannot go home without you, and I will be punished, and there will be no life for me. I will accompany you, take me and the horse wherever." He says, "I have no need for the horse, no need of you. Previously, I was king, and you were my king. I am not going to be king. I'm just going to be ordinary wandering monk, and I have no need of servant. I don't believe in servant. I don't believe in riding horse, let alone this amazing, expensive kind of saddle and all this. Please return this. My father loves these things. Give these to him because he will love you for bringing these things back." So, of course not. Actually, a night before he escaped, he spoke to his wife, telling he was leaving. She begged him to take her with him and not to leave her behind. He said, "No, you got to stay behind. You got to stay behind, and you and I together is no more. There's no more. So please, you have." It looks like the story is not always clear, but some people think Siddhartha left after his child was born. Most of the stories, they show that. But according to the Mahayana Buddhist texts, Yashodhara was expecting a child, but haven't given birth to a child yet. So therefore, he was able to dissuade her to follow him, saying, "You have my child, so you have at least stay in the palace, look after the child, and you have a good future. But not with me anymore, but with my son and the kingdom, you're much safer." So he was able to persuade her not to follow him. And anyway, so there's a lot of confusion around that area, particularly. Anyway, so Buddha left, Siddhartha left, far away. And then he cut his own hair with his royal sword. He shaved himself, And all the hair that he cut with sword, not a single hair fell on the ground. All was lifted by the gods. All came down and they received every single hair that's cut into a special holy basin. And they all took those hairs into the Deva realms, so it is said. And then, of course, he returned the horse and his sword and everything, as well as his other royal kind of ornaments and everything. And then the horse refused to return, understandably, because he didn't want to part his master, But then, like Chandaka, they both finally they went, and they went back. And then, just before they entered the palace door, the horse died of heart attack. Horse died. And then Chandaka, you wouldn't believe what Chandaka would have gone through. Let's not go into that. It's just reprimand, punishment, blaming. You say it all. He suffered all because he said, "Why did you take the prince like that? Why didn't you tell us? You sided him." And so, no. He said, "I'm just being the just faithful attendant." And it's because what he said, I brought the horse back. If I would have my wish, I could have stayed with him. But no, I didn't, because I want to make sure that I brought all the royal ornaments and all this safely back to your hand. So he suffered a lot of punishment. You wouldn't believe. Most servant do. Anyway, so now Prince Siddhartha then took off his royal dress, and then some people, gods, offered him some yellow cloth to wear. So he shaved his hair, and then he just became a mendicant, wandering mendicant. His flight takes him to meet other yogis meditating in the hermitages. So he met two Indian great teachers of the day called Alara and Rudra Ramaputra. These two actually taught a lot. First one taught that you should practice sense restraint. He said you can't just leave home and then think you're free. But even wherever you are, you still have to guard your sense doors. If you don't guard your sense doors, you're still under the sway of your senses. So your practice of mendicant is to guard your sense doors, restrain your sense doors from craving and wanting things. And there's about a little bit of truth in that. Then the other one said, no. He says, there is no point of guarding your senses when you don't have senses. He says, there is no consciousness. There's no non-consciousness, one of them said. So then the teaching get a little subtler. There's nothing to guard from. Everything's an illusion. Even your sense door is an illusion. So anyway, he learned a bit of meditation from these two, and so he was really doing really hard way. He made vow to fast, and gods and demigods will come and they will offer food, but he wouldn't accept a morsel of food. He just wanted to fast. That's it. Doesn't want to eat, doesn't want anybody. And when his father Shuddhodana and everywhere discovered where his son has gone, and they thought he will die of starvation, you know what parents will do there. And then they sent 500 people. He wanted nobody, but they sent 500 people just to make things worse. 500 people with lots of food and riches and clothes and needs and all of, and said, you go take this and look after him, make sure that he doesn't go cold, he doesn't go hungry, and and they go there, and Siddhartha want nothing of these 500 people. And he said, you guys go home, I don't have a need of any one of you, And they say, no, if we go back, we'll be punished, In those days, kings killed people, Punishment was not just a slap or like that. Oh, not a gentle sin bin, No, they'll kill you, So they said, no, we don't dare go. He said, don't go home. You can just have those things go away. And then they said, no, if we all leave you without anybody, we feel very, very worried. So at least you could accept some of us. So he said, okay. Finally, he accepted one from each 100. So 5 of them. 5 mendicants, 5 companion was actually a companion sent by his father. Out of the 500, he kept 5 as representatives and who might follow him. He said, I have no need of attendant, but if you want to follow my style and my fasting and my monastic life, you can do that. And they said, okay, they will do that, because they actually was really inspired of this young man's amazing kind of passion and so on. And this 5 was a little bit inspired by his life, and so they, instead of becoming his attendant, there's no job to be attendant because he wasn't eating anything, he wasn't needing anything. He wasn't defecating even because he wasn't eating anything. So what is his need? Just to watch him, just to say that you are watching him. That's only the job they had. And so they also started to emulate, copy everything what he was doing, and they were really impressed that his ability to not needing anything and yet not sort of go hungry or go crazy. And they all become similar good meditators. They all make little huts themselves, and they're just keeping an eye on Siddhartha. But Siddhartha doesn't need anything. Siddhartha was just completely emaciated. He had nothing left on his body but his skin and bones. His body was completely emaciated, skeleton, and that was really thing. When this was happening, of course, later on, Siddhartha woke up from his meditation. He thought, maybe I'm going a bit extreme, There's still no sign of enlightenment, There's a lot of good meditation, got a lot of good meditation, no desire, no craving, and not hungry, and not missing anybody, and not wanting to get up and do other things, stretches or like that, and just sit there. And he just totally one-pointedly sitting. We were talking 6 years meditating. And then one day somehow he felt so weak. And then he said, maybe this is not the right way to go. Maybe I'm taking it a bit too harsh. And then he became so weak that, and he maybe thought maybe he should look for something to eat to nourish his body. Otherwise, and then as he was going down to a little sort of gully for water, and there he met this beautiful Brahmin girl, Sujata. I mean, she has received many. She never had a married, and some reason somebody told her that if she made prayers and so practiced a lot of this, she will meet her who's your husband, So, and she was a Brahmin girl who was milking cows, They taught them how to prepare this special cow milk pudding, and she milked 500 red cows and milk, and then 500 red cows milk gave the milk to 100 white cows. 100 white cows drink those milk, and then milk the 100 white cows, and then from that milk give to one cow, and then milk that cow, and from that make a rice pudding. When she has just made all of this, here comes Sujata, who's very weak, and then she thought maybe this is the gentleman, I'm meant to marry, but he looks so weak. Let me first entice him by offering this offering. And when she offered, Buddha didn't hesitate. She offered in a beautiful golden basin, the beautiful milk pudding, and he accepted. And as soon as he ate it, just that's just one meal, his body just completely rebuilt, completely returned to his royal body, which is 35-year-old man, 35-year-old man. And then he felt so good, but he asked her what she sought by this gift. And then she said, "Oh, well, I have heard the story about you. Should you become a monarch, universal monarch, according to the soothsayers, may the seed of this action may make me to become your wife. And you, my husband." And of course, Siddhartha said, "Oh, here it goes again," type of thing. Not to that one again, he said. He said, "This will never happen." He said, "This will never happen to her." But then the Sujata was very gracious. She says, "Oh, may you then attain highest enlightenment very soon." So she was really good. She said that. And Siddhartha said, "Well said." Well said. Her name is well done. Her name is well born, Sujata. Jata means well born girl. He said, "Well said." Well said. And he took that very gracious. He thought that was a really nice thing to hear. She just didn't want her way only. She was a special woman there. She just let him have his way. And then, then the Bodhisattva said, then he realized, now time has come for me to really sit with this strong body, to have another sit, and maybe where's that place I'm going to sit? Because most people think Buddha got enlightened on the very sit that he sat 6 years. That's not the case. When you go to Bodh Gaya, the place he sat is where it's still not agreed by most Buddhists. Some people think it's over there, some people over there. Nobody can GPS Buddha's bottom. Some people think he sat in the cave up there. The Theravadins think he sat in the cave up there. But the Tibetan Buddhists think he's actually not very far from the river. There's a Sujata Kuti, not far from the village Sujata Kuti's house. So there is a place where they say that's where. Anyway, he crossed the river Niranjana. And as he was crossing the river Nirajana, many wondrous signs told him that hour of his enlightenment has not far. And then he walked. So Nirajana is just maybe 600 meters from the Bodhi tree, the big tree. And then he knew this is the place where all the past Buddhas have sat. I too must take that seat. And then he went. And after restoring his health, the Bodhisattva now goes in search of the exact location where he should sit and meditate. And then he went the fig tree, found the big fig tree. Those days it's only a fig tree. It's not called Bodhi tree, So he sat under the Bodhi tree in his back, facing east. So Buddha meditate facing east, because east the direction where sunrise. So he wanted to see the dawning of his enlightenment at the full moon, May. Full moon, May. And then as he wanted to sit, but there's still bare ground, He's not known for having royal velvet cushions, And he was looking for a little thing to sit on. Now that he's regained his bodily sort of comfort, he wanted to, and all of a sudden there appears this Brahmin, Swastika. His name is Swastika. Brahmin Swastika has just coming home, carrying a big bunch of kusha grass, He went to catch kusha grass. And Siddhartha was now really asked, where are you? Who are you? What are you going? He says, my name is Swastika. He said, oh, what a wonderful name. Because swastika, the word Sanskrit swastika that Germans took over, it's actually a symbol of immutability. Immutability. Suastika, Sanskrit means, suastika means well remain. Remain stable, He says, what a wonderful name. And he said, oh, can you give me some grass? He said, well, what for? Oh, I want to make a mat, And then, of course, the Brahmin didn't hesitate, and he offered the kusha grass. And then Siddhartha made a special mat for himself. He put all the point of the grass pointing inwards, He made all the grass sharp point of the all inward, and then made a little mat, and he sat on that. Symbol was that he wanted to remain very focused inwardly, not seeking anything from outside. So the grass was given, and then he accepted the grass, cut a swastika's grass, and made a special mat, and then sat under the tree and made a vow not to move until he attains enlightenment, which he did. So what does this story thus far tells is the true teaching of what we call renunciation. That is in Buddhism is a very important aspects of the practice, and so that's why the mendicant life of adopting royal king, becoming a monk. In some Buddhist countries, the Thai prince have to become a monk for a few days at least, but only for the ceremony, but no intention of becoming monk, But for the blessing, they will become monk for maybe a couple of weeks, and they really do exactly live like a monk and do all the things, but every intention to go back to the world that he has no reason to be renounced. So even Buddhist cultures, kingdoms, they actually think it's even to take ordination for a few days, is still considered to be very right step towards the path of enlightenment. So I think this is an example they're trying to follow. Buddha Siddhartha, who had everything that life asked for, but he found nothing satisfactory, but all going to be cause of disappointment, because they are not cause of real happiness. Things and possessions, status, and all cause of conflict, all cause of jealousy and competitiveness, arrogance, discontentment, and he could see them all that. So when people know about life of the Buddha, they need to compare with them their own life. What have they been seeking thus far, and how much more we want? If anything that we have has brought us satisfaction, do we want more of the same, or what is it? Siddhartha, as a young age of 29, come to realize that it's well too timely for him to leave the materialistic world and make the life meaningful by seeking spiritual purpose and purpose of life. And therefore, he wasn't able to stop, even by his parents, even by his wife, and so on. Because he says attachment to anyone, even though you love them, is not love. It's only cause of shackling yourself, binding yourself and them, barring your spiritual development, because each other feels as you need each other just for need for what? Just actually becoming a hindrance to each other's spiritual progress. So therefore, the whole teaching of him leaving the home as Prince Siddhartha is when the Buddha taught about the need and importance of renunciation, he's done it. He's not just talking theory. He's not talking theoretically saying it should be done, but he hasn't really done it himself. So Buddha himself, as a last life of the Siddhartha Gautama, as Prince Siddhartha, he actually taught by king. Becoming king is the highest position in the world, but even that got no happiness, only suffering. You can't escape illness. You can't escape sickness. You can't escape old age. You can't escape death. You can't escape all the conflicts. You have more problem as much as your wealth brings. Every single of wealth is more the wealth, more the problem. Higher the status, that much the competitiveness and the jealousy and you name it. The more you have, the more they are cause of problems, because they lure you. They make you to become attached to them as they're satisfactory when they're not. They make you to think they're permanent when they're not. When you think they're reliable when they're unreliable. So why you want to invest your time and life's time for these kind of futile things? So that was really the teaching, and he truly lived it. And the fact that he went into the extremes of penance, of asceticism, for which the Buddha is very well known, and then later on changing his mind, starting to eat, but only eat one meal a day. That also before midday, which is very good. That also before midday is a middle way. So whole idea of middle way of Buddhism came from Buddha not going to extreme penance like many other contemporary religious people practice. You wouldn't believe some people still doing that extreme poverty and not doing anything at all. And they still think it's a devotion to their God or whatever it is. Buddha said in middle way, so we need to find a middle way. So middle way, according to Buddha's teaching, is where he himself didn't let himself to go starve. Maybe he would have never got any physical energy left to gain enlightenment. Even to practice enlightenment, you need a reasonable physical body that is able to hold you together. I mean, he tried very young, at the age of 29, He thought any later than that was wasting his time. So what are we waiting for? so to speak, I mean, so we have to learn by looking at the life of the Buddha. We have to see, what are the things we need to learn and emulate, small steps to practice middle way. Yeah, what are the extreme aspects of our behavior that are harming our well-being or our effectiveness or our usefulness to others or to yourself or to others, and so how much a little bit of adaptation of our lifestyle, whether we are eating eating this or that much, eating too much of that, or doing not enough of spirituality. There is that kind of lopsidedness. And he felt to us asceticism was causing, or being a prince was causing, So these two extremes. One, he went he was already in the royal life, which is basically indulgence, You wouldn't believe how much it costs to host one of the royal family in Australia just for a few days. And so that's one side of the extreme. Another is extreme poverty, not eating at all, fasting to the extent of turning your body nearly to skeleton. So Buddha was showing, when we say middle way, it's not a dry philosophy that he theorized. He actually practiced it. Everybody's life has these two extremes that one need to now to drop some of the aspects, and they're talking about, they first put all the unnecessary fat they shouldn't have put, then they try to take all these fat burning materials. All this, why you have to put on all the fat that you don't need to burn? So we're talking about the middle way is very relevant in terms of self-improvement, whether it's education, health, relationship, whatever. Maybe you're too harsh on your dad. Maybe you're too nitpicking over things. And that's why your relationships are not good, because you're too harsh on him or too neglectful of that. So we need to all learn, okay, what does it mean by renunciation? It doesn't mean you shave tomorrow. It means you need to shave some bad habits. Shave some bad habits and pick up some good habits that are lacking. And maybe meditation, maybe discipline, maybe study, and maybe dropping away some of the lifestyle that are not good, laziness, indulgence, decadence, aggressiveness, greediness, and ungratefulness. All these things, one needs to learn how to renounce, how to renounce. Buddha's the old age, sickness and death, sadness, depression, suffering, discomfort, disharmony, wanting to get things you never get. When you get things you never get satisfied with, those things you have you lose. Those you don't have you want. When you get them you're not happy. All this kind of incessant suffering is always due to lack of balance. So middle way means bringing some kind of balance, and how the Buddha himself sat in meditation. A teaching, really, statue of the Buddha is a teaching how to bring balance between your theory and practice, between your knowledge and application, between your compassion and wisdom, between your care and control, and so on. So in this way, one can see how one can slowly adopt some of these amazing teachings when you look at the life of the Buddha has to teach. So with this, we're going to conclude here. Thank you, everybody. From the ocean of Vadarasana, Herenda Mahayana Dija, whatever Merera Mehobe Begas Lavasa Jehoda Mayana Dija, Courage Manjushin Vode Azama Drabadra de Laiva, follow it all the Zamba Aja de Geo de Mere Salam Bodhijida Teba Veranaya Ranzo, where has been Bomeyeding Vrele Vedadi Generation. So we will continue this series, not next week, because I will be in fasting Nyungne retreat. We were talking about fasting, but our fasting is very simple. Our fasting is not eating but little less, eating but little less. Eating when and not at the time. So we do that 2-day fasting. So we're doing that retreat up in our Virupa Retreat Center. But the session will still happen with someone who will take the Sunday trip, and then the week after we'll continue the same theme. Thank you very much.